Hi everyone! Today what we're going to do is we are going to decorate our bee. So Sophie's told you how to build it and how to skin it. So you should now have something looking a bit like this. Don't worry if you haven't got one of these on it, and also don't worry if you have. Either way is fine, they're both super useful. So today we're going to decorate it and turn it into a bee. So before you get started, make sure you have everything you need. You need your tissue paper. You need a pair of scissors. You need a pen, a marker pen ideally, but I don't have one, so we're using a black felt tip. A bin to put your scraps in. Glue and a brush. Mixed 50-50, as you've been doing all the while, so you know what you're doing. And a wet cloth, always helpful. That's it, I think we're ready to go. Right, let's get started. Let's start with the head. So what we're going to do is, you're going to take one of your yellow pieces of paper, put the others away for later on. Keep this one doubled over to save you from having to do everything twice. Right. So put your head on here. So I've left myself about, I think about 2 centimeters will do it, on, as I want to say hem allowance, but obviously that's not the one. Drawn around it, and you take your bee and you put your bee elsewhere out the way for now. So that is, you see, that's your head. But before you do any cutting, you want to figure out more or less what your face is going to do. So I'm just going to make 2 big circles. I'm not worrying too much whether they're the same size. In fact, I'm making one slightly bigger because it just looks, I don't know, I like it. Right, so now we're going to cut both sides out at the same time. Right, one edge here will be joined, there we go, because that's the edge you folded along. But you can just cut that off. When you get to the bit where it joins the neck, don't worry about rounding it, but just cut straight across. Right. It's worth cutting just inside, just for tidiness. So don't cut on the black line, cut just inside the black line. That way you don't get any of the black showing up on your bee face. Or you can just use a pencil so that you don't get the black lines. Right, now, before you separate out these 2 pieces, you're going to, across the middle of one of the eyes, just fold it, like that. Make it as close to the middle as you're able, because it makes it a lot easier. And then cut that out. Ta-da! Do the same thing on the other side. Fold it as close to the middle as you can make it. And cut it out. Here we are. Da-da. You now have 2 identical yellow faces. So, now to the gluing. So you're going to cover one side of your bee face completely in glue. Try and be quite neat. Don't overdo it because it'll get a bit sloppy. But if you just cover it completely in glue, give it a good layer. There we go. And don't forget the edges. Cloth. Ta-da, save table. Right, Now, with the flat side, which is the neck side, sort of place that on your beam with the flat side. It's a silly thing saying it. What I mean is with the flat side lining up with the neck. Does that make sense? Yeah. Make sure your eyes aren't too close to the edges. But there you go. I think we've done a good job on that one. Ta-da! Right. Turn it over and do the exact same thing on the other side. The other side is slightly trickier because now you need to line up your eyes. So there's a little bit more precision required on this side, but I believe in you. You can do it. Right, so now I recommend holding it next to the eyes. That way you can put your finger up along here, which holds that out of the way. And ta-da! There we are. And then press it down, make sure it adheres. Step 2 complete. Right, so before we move on anywhere else, we're going to seal this with a layer of glue. So we're gonna, it seals it and it makes it waterproof, you know the run-ins. Now around the eyes, be careful because you can inadvertently push the tissue out of place with your brush, so be gentle on that bit. There you go, da, 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 da. There we are. Other side, turn it over there again. C'est magnifique. Right, I think I have covered the whole of that. Right, now, I'm going to turn it this way so it doesn't stick to my table. Right, scissors. Now, you don't have to do this bit. This is for those of us who can't cope when things are uneven or messy or just it stresses us out. But actually, you don't have to do this bit. If you want, you can just fold the whole thing as is. That's it. It'll create little folds and that's fine. If you want to be super tidy about it, you can do this. You can just cut little sections, making sure not to cut too close to your willow. And then with another layer of glue, you just, oh my goodness, fold that over. This bit you're better off doing with your fingers, even though it might feel messy and annoying, because the brush often tears the paper. So making sure, on that bit, I'm going to cut that bit off because it's got a bit of black marker pen. Yeah, you're better off doing this bit with your fingers because it can tear and often does tear. Right, I'm very gently covering the whole thing with a layer of glue. It's worth taking your time over this bit. Just, you know, take it slowly and it will be magnificent. Line of glue, be generous. The more glue you put on now, the more waterproof this whole thing should be. Right. So now that you're all stuck down, go over everything gently with your brush, very gently, and glue everything down. Right. Hey, Boozy. Boozy. Yay. Right. So before we move on anywhere else, we're going to seal this with a layer of glue. So we're gonna, it seals it and it makes it waterproof. You know the run-ins. Now around the eyes, be careful because you can inadvertently push the tissue out of place with your brush. So be gentle on that bit. There you go. Da, 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 da. There we are. Other side. Turn it over there again. C'est magnifique. Right. I think I have covered the whole of that. Right. Now, I'm going to turn it this way so it doesn't stick to my table. Right, scissors. Now, you don't have to do this bit. This is for those of us who can't cope when things are uneven or messy or just it stresses us out. But actually, you don't have to do this bit. If you want, you can just fold the whole thing as is. That's it. It'll create little folds and that's fine. If you want to be super tidy about it, you can do this. You can just cut little sections, making sure not to cut too close to your willow. And then with another layer of glue, you just, oh my goodness, fold that over. This bit you're better off doing with your fingers, even though it might feel messy and annoying, because the brush often tears the paper. So making sure, on that bit, I'm going to cut that bit off because it's got a bit of black marker pen. Yeah, you're better off doing this bit with your fingers because it can tear and often does tear. Right, I'm very gently covering the whole thing with a layer of glue. It's worth taking your time over this bit. Just, you know, take it slowly and it will be magnificent. Line of glue, be generous. The more glue you put on now, the more waterproof this whole thing should be. Right. So now that you're all stuck down, go over everything gently with your brush, very gently, and glue everything down. Right. Hey, Boozy. Boozy. Yay. Right. So while he's drying, we're going to do other things. I'm just going to make sure actually that he has enough glue on both sides around the edges. Yes, he does. I'm just being extra. Right, so let's put him away to dry for now. And with my cloth, I'm going to wipe that clean. Okay, so we've done the face, or at least we've done the basics of the face. So let's decorate the body. Right, take your other sheet. Now, you'll still have most of that sheet left, the one you used for the face. Ooh, that's great. Put that to one side for now. Get your other sheet of yellow and keep it doubled up like we did last time. Now, it may be, and this is important, okay, it may be that you, that one half of that doesn't fit the whole of your bee. And that's okay. Don't panic if one side doesn't fit. You will still have more than enough paper to do this with. Okay, so on this side, I feel, look, can you see that that doesn't fit? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it around and lengthways, tuck it up underneath these wings here. Right, so now we can see that it fits sideways. Look, it wraps around sideways, but it leaves a gap at the bottom. You see that? But that's fine because we've still got half of the other sheet, so we're good to go. So we are now going to cut this one in half. How we can do that is if we lay that sheet down like that. Oh, sorry, B. B went for his inaugural flight. Right. And tuck, well, actually, let's do it like that. Tuck your scissors in like that. And then you don't even really need to cut. You can just, using your scissors as a knife, you can just slice. Can you see that? If it's easier to cut, by all means cut. Or a little combination of both. Whatever works. The two most important factors are that you get where you want to go and have fun doing it. Not that you do it in the exact right way. Okay, so that's how I would do it. So now you have two. Ooh. Right, well, I'm going to tear him off because he's ripped a little bit, so that's going to be annoying later on. So I'm just going to tear that bit off, and we will fix him when we get there. So he goes in the bin. Right, Beezy, it's time to come back and get dressed. So, you know the run-ins, loads of glue. You might want to, just for your own peace of mind, just check where it is that you're putting him, so you know what you're doing before you do it. Right, okay. Oops. So, generous amounts of glue. Make sure that he's got a layer everywhere. Ooh, I want to glue you up everywhere. Oh, B. Sorry, I can't help myself. Ooh. Tissue paper's flying away. Don't do it. Don't do it. I hope that the noises of the outside world isn't making it tricky to hear what I'm doing or to hear what I'm saying rather. If it is, I'll do it again. Right, have I covered the whole of that in glue? I believe I have. Right, I'm going to go over once more just on the edges to make sure that all the edges are done. And then so let me show you what I'm doing. Okay, so I've put him on and I'm gently with my fingers just pressing him into place. There's a little gap there, but not to worry, I'll come back and mend him. We're going to tuck him under the wing. There we are. Right. So again, I did that with my hands because sometimes if you do it with the brush, you can just go and rip the whole thing and then oof, nightmares. So that's what we did. Right. So now we're going to go in with a piece of our face paper, yeah, the piece that we used for the face, and we're just gonna glue that on there one time. Oops, see, what did I tell you? Rippage. So I'm going to, can you see, I'm going to cut that bit off. Don't worry if the join is sloppy. It is a bit sloppy in my case because you are going to stripe it up with black. Right, now go around the rest of it and give it an even couple of centimeters. If you have any training as a contortionist, it will be useful now. Oh no, come on, don't be like that. Oh, right. So it's looking like that. Still dry on this side, leave it like that. So you haven't gone over it with the glue just yet. We'll do that at the end.